As a heartfelt coach who has made a commitment and a desire to serve your ideal premium buyer, have you ever found yourself in a situation where you begin to doubt your ability, to begin to doubt your expertise, and even sometimes begin to doubt your achievements, and you begin to feel like a fraud? You're worried that someone's going to find out that you don't actually qualify to do what you say you're doing. During this episode, I'm going to show you how you can identify imposter syndrome and eliminate it so you can have the confidence to go out there and build that coaching business that you deserve. See you on the inside. You're listening to the Coaching Business Mentor with DJ Sobanjo, the #1 business podcast for heart-led coaches who want to get more clients, serve more people, and make more money. Welcome to this week's episode of your Coaching Business Mentor. I am your host, DJ Sobanjo. Last week on episode 3, we talked about finding your wealthy place, where we identified that is actually all about your ideal premium buyer, and that's the person who gets the most value out of what you offer and who is both willing and able to pay for it. I'm not going to dive too deep into that. If you didn't listen to it, I encourage you to go back and listen to that episode. You don't have to stop this to go ahead and listen to that one right now. You can basically just get through this, and as soon as you're done, you can then go back and listen to episode 3. Now, this episode, we actually want to dive deeper into looking at your ideal premium buyer. But what we're looking to do today is we want to look at expanding your comfort zone to incorporate your ideal premium buyer so that you can completely eliminate something that is a big issue for heart-led coaches who are going out into the marketplace and who are looking to start charging money for what they do, or maybe are looking to expand and start serving a different market who they have identified they can make a bigger difference for, and also they can make more money serving. Imposter syndrome is a real thing, and it really holds a lot of people back from being the best that they can be and getting the best that they can get from serving in the marketplace. Usually it shows up where you begin to doubt your capability, you begin to doubt your expertise, you begin to think maybe I don't fit in, maybe I'm not qualified. Even when you begin to get some successes, when you begin to nail clients, you begin to doubt that you actually qualify to serve these clients, and you start to feel like you're a fraud and that at some point you're going to get found out. I'm sure maybe as you're listening to this, you can identify with this feeling. I just want you to know that it's not a feeling that only you are experiencing. Most heart-led coaches who step out into building a business, or those who make a decision to step out into serving an ideal premium buyer, does experience, most of us do experience this phenomenon called imposter syndrome. It can cripple you, it can keep you hiding in the corner, and worst of all, it can drive you back into your comfort zone where you start making excuses. You start saying things like, maybe it wasn't for me, maybe the timing is right, I didn't really feel comfortable there, there was just something about it that was off, it was not really me. It's none of those things. What it really was is you were feeling like you didn't qualify, like you didn't deserve it. It was you experiencing imposter syndrome. And the truth is, I can identify with this, and I'm going to share a little bit about something that happened for me a while back so you can understand that I can feel your pain. I've been there, I've experienced it, I've lived it, and I've lived it more than once actually. But I'm going to share one experience that just stuck out for me as I began to think about what to share during this episode. I used to work with a company called Transport for London way back. And when I worked within London Underground, which was a part of Transport for London, you can work out from the name that Transport for London is all about transportation in London. London Underground was the underground rail system that actually ran across London. And I worked within London Underground. I started as a station assistant, and within a couple of years, I'd become a manager of one of the stations at London Underground. And I was doing quite well as a station manager there. However, the reality is my passion was always about people development. It was about helping people advance and helping people improve. Even when I was a station manager, I spent most of the time that I was working there, helping the people who I managed with their careers. And I'd sit down with them and coach them, support them, challenge them, inspire them to be better than they were, and guide them in ways they could begin to expand and develop their capabilities. So I realized that this was who I was. And so moving into some sort of learning role made complete sense for me. And in 2006, I did get the opportunity to transition into working as a management and leadership development trainer within the same organization. But I moved away from operations on the station side into one of the fancy corporate offices. Now, I still remember when I just started this new job. It was a whole new world. I moved from wearing a uniform to having to wear my own suits and coming in from home and having my own allocated space, unlike before where I shared office space. It was all very different for me, but that was just the beginnings. I remembered going into a meeting, and I still remember this moment. I'm sitting in this meeting, and it's a meeting of the larger team. There's about 10 of us in the room, and I'm sitting there. And they're having conversations. They might as well have been speaking a completely different language. I felt like a fish out of water. I'm seeing the conversations back and forth. I'm seeing people ask questions and other people responding. I'm seeing people making contributions, and I have no clue what they're talking about. I'm sitting there thinking to myself, oh my goodness, I hope my old job is still available, because I don't think that I fit in here. I felt like a fish out of water. I remember when they turned to me and says, DJ, what do you think? And I said, yeah, I think it makes sense. Now, you've got to understand, I hadn't the foggiest idea what they were talking about, but that was my way of just escaping from that conversation in the moment, because I had no clue what was going on. I also remember another incident that stood out for me. This particular situation, I was sitting in the room while a colleague of mine who was piloting a new course. It was a course called Managing Performance. And I was sitting in because I was meant to be a co-deliverer, so which meant in the near future, I was going to be delivering this course that my colleague was delivering. I remember sitting in the room, and he starts to deliver. I have no idea what he's saying. And then the delegates are asking him questions. The delegates are contributing to the conversation. And I am sitting there. I am clueless. And I'm thinking to myself, how can I deliver this? I don't understand it. Why am I here? All this was running through my head. I remember people would come up to me, like my boss would come into the room and say, DJ, how are you finding it? And I'll just smile, because I was panicking. I was thinking to myself, you should have just stayed back in your old job. You know that you don't fit in here. You know that this is not where you're meant to be. Your background is entrepreneurial and operation. This whole corporate language, it's not for you. I sit through the 2-day course, and I go up to my manager and I say to her, I say, Norma, I really think that I should go on the train the trainer course. She says, why, DJ? I said, because of the environment that I've come from, I don't really have the experience that is needed in this job. And I feel like going on the trainer trainer course, I would get some formal training that would really help me for this new job. Now, my boss looks at me and she says she doesn't think that I really need this training. I'm like, okay, if she thinks she doesn't need it, I did feel that I did, but I felt, you know what? I'll just hear her. She says, leave it with me. We'll see what we can do. And I did. And then a few hours later, she comes up to me. She says, DJ, you know what? I think you should go on the train the trainer course. Go and look for a good course, and we'll send you off on the course. So while I was looking, she then comes back to me within an hour and says, DJ, I have found a course. It's offered by Reed. It's a 5-day train the trainer course. And I have booked you on the course. I felt great. So I'm looking forward to this course because I'm thinking I'm finally going to learn how to be a good trainer because I don't feel like I fit in. I know that I did well at the interviews. I know that I performed well at the interviews and they felt I was good enough to give me this job. But the reality is, I know deep down inside that I don't fit in. I know deep down inside that I'm not really ready for this right now. This was all that was going through my head. So they booked me on the course and I go away for this 2-day course and I come back. Now, when I come back from the course, I guess the question you'd ask me is, DJ, so what did you get out of the course? I learned, I got a few hints, I got a few tips, I definitely got a few concepts I could implement and I could use in my career and in my new role. But my biggest takeaway from that course was the fact that I identified that I am a really, really good trainer. That was probably my biggest takeaway from the course. How did that happen? It mainly was just from the fact that I was sitting in the room and pretty much everything the trainer was telling us, I knew. Every time she was asking a question, I was putting up my hand. After a while, I felt very embarrassed because it seemed like I was showing off, but it was just because I knew the answers. No one else put up their hand, and she's sitting there waiting for someone to say something. My hand goes up again. And then we also had a lot of skills practice. And from the feedback that I received from my co-delegates as well as from the facilitator, I left that 5-day course knowing that I'm a really good trainer. Now, I get back to work and my boss sits down with me, Norma. She was a phenomenal manager. And then she asked me, DJ, how was it? What did you get from the course? I said, I got from the course that I am a really good trainer and I'm quite confident now that I can do well in this role. And then she looked at me and she smiled and she said, that was exactly why I agreed for you to go on that course, because I know this about you already, but I know that you needed to know this about yourself. And for me, that was the beginning of knocking out imposter syndrome. And I did go on to build a very solid career in management and leadership development, expanded from just training into coaching and consulting, and also in leading my own teams in that space. Today, some people have said that I am one of the top management and leadership development specialist in the United Kingdom. What if, just what if, after that meeting or after being in the room where my colleague was delivering that training program, what if I just felt it wasn't for me, I didn't fit in, and I went back to my comfort zone. I went back to my old role. What if I went to my manager and said it was a mistake? I don't really feel this is the job for me. I don't feel that I fit in. It just doesn't feel right for me. I would have gone back to where I used to be and never had the wonderful experiences I had and gone on to build the amazing career that I built for myself because of imposter syndrome. Now, the challenge is, as a heart-led coach, where you don't have a boss to encourage you, where you're not in a system where you have moved into a new role and you technically can't just go back to your old role. The truth is, it's easy for you to quit on yourself and just go back, to quit on trying to build a coaching business, or to quit, more importantly, on serving this ideal premium buyer because of feeling uncomfortable, because of maybe one or two things not going the way you want it to go. And then you begin to think, it's not really for me. I don't fit in. I don't feel comfortable. And all these excuses that run through your head, and then you give up. But that's not going to happen. That's not going to happen. Because you're here listening to this episode, we're going to identify imposter syndrome. And you're probably listening to this and you can know if you have experienced it. But when we come back after the break, I'm going to show you this really powerful way to identify and eliminate imposter syndrome so that you can go on to be that superstar, amazing, phenomenal coach who's making a difference in that space you have chosen to, without imposter syndrome getting in the way. See you in a few moments. Are you a coach? Do you need to get paying clients consistently, but you don't want to waste countless hours trying to be famous on social media? Do you want a calendar full of appointments with quality prospects who want what you offer so you can convert premium clients month after month without stress? Now you can do just that when we help you implement the Predictable Profit Machine for Coaches, a business system that helps coaches consistently generate profits in their business. All you have to do is visit coachingbusinessmentor.show/machine. Watch the short explainer video and then go ahead and book an appointment. Let us help you build a predictable profit machine around your own coaching expertise so you can start earning predictable profits in your business month after month. Hey, welcome back, and let's dive straight in. Now, if you are not driving, I want you to do something. I want you to shut your eyes for a moment. I want you to actually shut your eyes. To make this work, you really need to do this. So go ahead and shut your eyes, and I want you to imagine you are a brilliant doctor in your own country. So I want you to picture yourself wearing that white coat. You've got the stethoscope. You've got everything. You are the doctor. I want you to imagine you are a brilliant doctor in your country, wherever that is. Imagine that for one reason or another, you have decided that Japan's a place for you to go. There's great opportunity in Japan, and you heard that there's lots of amazing technology available for doctors in Japan, and there's lots of opportunity there. And so you have decided that you are going to move to Japan and relocate to Japan and practice as a doctor. You hop on the plane, you fly out to Japan. Now, if you do live in Japan, just pick another country. You arrive at Japan, and as soon as you get there, it's all different. Everything's different. You realize that everyone's speaking a different language that you don't understand. Getting a cab is really difficult for you. It's a struggle to really engage with the driver. Everything's just so different. Everything is just so weird. You get to the hospital and you see that all the signs are in Japanese. Everybody's talking in Japanese. You see some really interesting equipment. It just looks very different to you. You've never seen stuff like this before. It's all very different, and you begin to feel quite uncomfortable. You begin to feel it's just not what you're used to. Everything, people are just speaking all around you. You can hear voices, you have no clue what they're saying. You're seeing signs and you're not sure whether it means go left or go right. You're not sure what the language means. It's all just very, very different. And you're looking around and you feel lost, and you're thinking to yourself, how am I going to work here? You're really feeling out of place. You're feeling like you don't fit in. You see other people and they just seem to be very comfortable here. It seems all natural for them, but for you, it is very, very weird. You feel very uncomfortable. You're beginning to feel like you don't like it. I don't feel comfortable here. I can't relax. I am tense. I am on the edge. I am quite uncertain. Am I sure about this? Did I make that right decision? Things were okay back in my own country. Back in my own country, I didn't have to deal with all this other stuff I needed to deal with. Everything made sense to me. I knew how things worked. I just got on with my job. All of a sudden, everything is so different, and you begin to feel nervy. You start to have doubts. You start to question your decision. You start to ask yourself, why did I take this job? Why did I make this decision? Why did I come here? All this stuff is going through your head. How are you feeling? I need you to just think about that for a moment. Think about how you may be feeling right now. So think of those words that describe how you feel. I said a few earlier on, and maybe you can identify with some of those words like uncomfortable, words like uncertain, worried, anxious, and some other words like this. These are the words that describe how you feel. Now, let me ask you a question, though. Though you may be feeling all these different negative feelings, though you may feel out of place, Have you become an incompetent doctor all of a sudden? Have you? The answer is no. The answer is no. You were a brilliant, excellent doctor. You were as brilliant now as you were before you hopped on the plane. The only difference is you are now outside of the zone of your comfort, which is your home. You've come into a different place where the language is foreign to you, the culture is foreign to you, the people are foreign to you, and you feel uncomfortable. But that does not make you incompetent all of a sudden. It just makes you uncomfortable. And that's exactly what it's like for you as a coach. If you are a coach who's had to make a transition to a zone where you're looking to serve your ideal premium buyer, what usually happens for us is because we transition into a different culture, we transition into a different people, a different audience, we transition into a different where they speak a different language, we will feel uncomfortable, we will feel out of place, and those feelings are real. They will happen for you. And I know, and I'm telling you this now, if you've already made that decision in the past, you know how uncomfortable it made you feel. If you've been thinking about it, I'm telling you now, you will feel uncomfortable. But in spite of that, just like the doctor who feels uncomfortable when they transition to Japan from their own home country, wherever that is, it doesn't mean that the doctor is incompetent. They're still as brilliant as they were in their home country now that they're in this unfamiliar territory. And it's the same thing for you. You are still as brilliant a coach in this new zone serving your ideal premium buyer as you were when you were in your comfort zone. I need you to understand this. The same way the doctor is brilliant outside their comfort zone as they were in their comfort zone, you are still a brilliant coach outside your comfort zone as you were or are in your comfort zone. But you will feel uncomfortable because it's all different, it's all unknown, it's uncharted for you. What do you need to do so you can begin to expand your comfort zone so you can become comfortable within this new zone, because that's technically what you want to do. Technically, there's three things you need to do, but there's something that needs to be at the base of it all. There is a mindset that needs to be at the base of this as you begin to expand your comfort zone, to incorporate this new space, to expand into this new zone. And that is, you need to be able to say and understand that you are a brilliant coach and success in this new space is inevitable. You need to understand this. You need to write this down and you need to say this to yourself every single day, 2 times a day, 3 times a day. I am a brilliant coach, and success in this new zone for me is inevitable. Name that zone. So, with the example I used in the last episode, this person who's a career coach who was maybe initially working with fresh graduates, but now is looking to work with professionals who are transitioning into becoming independent contractors. It would be something along the lines of, I am a brilliant coach and success working with professionals transitioning to becoming independent contractors is inevitable. I am a brilliant career coach and success working with professionals transitioning to becoming independent contractors is inevitable. That person needs to start saying that from now when they feel very uncomfortable. And there's a reason I'm telling you to do this. I need you to actually just stop this recording and write this one down. I am a brilliant whatever coach you are, and success in whatever your IPB niche is inevitable. And I'll share the reason why this is important before I end this episode. Technically, there's 3 things that you need to do in order to expand your comfort zone. You've got to, number one, immerse yourself in the culture. It's a different space. You again, just like the doctor who's come to a new country, every community, every space has its own culture, and you need to become comfortable in the culture, and you've got to do that by immersing yourself, not by just tasting the odd meal here or there. It's like some people, they go into a new country to work, but they never really immerse themselves in the culture. They stay in a small community where it's people like them. They only would go to that one restaurant that serves food from where they come from. They only associate with people who are like them. They watch television from their country, and they could live in that place for 5 years and 10 years, and they never really connect with that space. You want to do the absolute opposite. What you need to shut out your comfort zone and immerse yourself in the culture. So, in the context of this person who's just doctor, you want to basically start watching Japanese television, to start eating Japanese food. You want to start going to Japanese restaurants. You want to start to have Japanese friends. Don't go into Japan and start looking for the odd one or two people who are from where you come from. This is where you want to start to. It is uncomfortable, but your goal here is to immerse yourself in the culture. You want to learn the language. You want to get to know the people. Those are the 3 things that you should be doing. Now, what does that look like in real life? Practically, if you're looking to immerse yourself in the culture, learn the language, and know the people, what are some of the things that you can do? First of all, within that niche, you need to start reading books. Just start reading every book you can get. I would suggest start off with 3 books. Look for 3 top recommended books to help you understand and know that space that you're going into, the ideal premium buyers you're looking to work with. Whenever I'm going into a new space like that, the first thing I do is I get 3 books. I go onto Amazon, I look for 3 books which are related to that space, and I immerse myself. I'll pick up those books. I'll go to Audible. I'll get 3 books. I would be listening to books and reading books, listening to books and reading books, listening to books and reading books. Why am I doing that? I'm beginning to feed my mind to really get to know this space that I'm coming into. While I'm doing this, also watch programs, go onto YouTube, do a bit of research, watch a few videos that are expanding your scope and your knowledge and your awareness and your consciousness with this particular space that you're coming into. You've got to, not just the odd video here and there, you literally are binging on this stuff, right? You're feeding your mind with this information. Go to the events which are for your audience, which are relevant to your audience, really getting to know them, whether they're offline events or online events. Join the communities. These are really practical things. The key thing is you do this and you start to expand your comfort zone. You start to feel more comfortable. You're going to the events, you're joining the online communities, you're joining the offline communities. You're consistently researching, learning new stuff. And also you're building relationships. Start to build relationships, start to reach out to people who serve your audience. For every audience that you decide to work with, whoever you've defined as your ideal premium buyer, there are other businesses out there who serve them as well. Start to build relationships with those businesses, whatever it is. So if you are a coach who serves a particular niche audience, there would be others who would serve them. I'll give a good example is the example I've been working with from last episode, and I've kind of used it here in this episode again, is the career coach who is looking to transition from working with young graduates to working with professionals who are looking to become independent contractors. Well, professionals who are looking to become independent contractors, one relationship they will have is a relationship with their accountants. right? You can begin to build relationships with their accountants. Start looking for people who are accountants for this group and start to build a relationship with them. These are the things that would, go out for a meal with them, begin to learn more, begin to start looking at how you can serve each other by giving each other business. And they've been in the space for a lot longer than you. They can give you a bit of guidance. They can start to connect you to potential clients. And then as you begin to build relationships with potential clients in the beginning, don't see them as just clients. See them as folks who will open you up into that space. Meet with them. Yes, they could be a client, but even if they're not going to be a client, meet with them, not with a view to making them a client, with a view to them helping to open up that world to you. Sit down with them, take them out for lunch, ask them a bunch of questions. What was it like when you transitioned? What were some of the challenges? What would have made life easier for you as far as your transition was concerned? How much of a difference would having a coach have made in your life at that stage of your transition? These are the sort of things that would help you to begin to get into the heads of your ideal premium buyer and begin to help you to become more familiar and more comfortable with the people that you serve. But what's really critical is as you're doing all this, while you're doing all this consistently, you need to be reminding yourself that you are a brilliant coach in your space, and success within this new IPB space is inevitable. Now, why is it important that you need to be saying this from today? And you keep saying this until it in your head it is true. And I'm going to tell you why. In the beginning, you need to keep saying this because when you come into this new space, working with your ideal premium buyer, this repeating this and building this into your consciousness is what's going to keep you going so you don't quit. You don't walk away. You don't come up with an excuse in your head to walk away because you feel uncomfortable. That is what happens for up to 90% of coaches who decide to upgrade working with a new ideal premium buyer. Is many of them quit. Some quit in the idea stage, some quit before they take the first step, just imagining before they even get on the plane. They just think it's not for me. They go home. They don't even attempt. They just think about it. It scares them and they go back home. They think I'm not qualified. Some other people land at the airport. As soon as they're exposed to this new reality, it scares them. So for some people, it could just be that they go to that one event. It could be they sit down with that first potential client and that person's speaking a language they don't understand. That person's asking questions they can't answer. And they just feel I'm ill-equipped. I need to go and learn, and they run away. And some people, they actually get into the space and they become so overwhelmed with how much they do not know about this space. And they run away and they quit. And so for you, making this statement consistently, I am a brilliant coach, and success working with your ideal premium buyer, whoever that is inevitable. Saying that and repeating it to yourself, it's what's going to keep you going at these different stages of the journey. What then begins to happen is your comfort zone begins to expand. You're not there yet. Now, remember, you've always been brilliant as a coach. It's just comfort in this unfamiliar space. That's the issue. But what happens for some people is when they do start to get some success, when they do begin to have some movement, then they begin to have some doubts. You know why? Because they're still not comfortable, but their comfort zone is expanding. And what begins to happen is when they start having some success, when they land those first few clients, they start thinking to themselves, oh my goodness, they're going to find out soon that I really don't understand what I'm saying. They're going to find out soon that I'm just bluffing it. They're going to find out soon that I'm a fake. And all those thoughts will be going through your head. You're thinking this. They're not thinking that though, but that's what you're thinking. You know why? Because you're still uncomfortable, because there's a few words or phrases that you still don't get, because you still have to think very hard to process information, because it's still quite unfamiliar, because you're in the development phase as far as this new space is concerned. And this statement It's what's going to keep you going so you don't begin to doubt yourself. I am a brilliant coach, and success working with XYZ in this particular niche is inevitable, because you will be. This is that next phase you're going to be, where you start having success, but you start to doubt that you qualify to have this success, where you start to think like people are going to find out you're a fraud. And it's these statements that are going to keep you going. So you want to be making these statements at least 3 times a day. Every time you start having those doubts, you start making this statement over and over and over again. It's going to keep you going. You're still doing all those practical things. You're still reading the books. You're watching these programs. You're binging on things that build your knowledge of your niche. You're going to the events. You're engaging in the communities you belong to. You're doing new research. You're building and nurturing these relationships, and you're doing what you're good at, coaching. But you need to keep saying this to yourself, because that devil speaking in your ear is going to be there saying to you that they're going to find you out soon. You and I both know that you don't feel comfortable here. You and I both know that you really shouldn't be here. You and I both know that these people you're working with, they are at a higher level than actually your capability. All of that's going to be going through your head. But you need to keep reminding that little devil that you are a brilliant coach, and success in your new IPB space is inevitable. And guess what? You keep saying that to yourself. You keep fighting back and keep on learning and immersing yourself in the culture, learning the language and knowing the people. And then most importantly, you keep serving them with your brilliance. And it's just a matter of time. You'd realize you don't even need to say it to yourself anymore. You know it without a shadow of a doubt. But you kind of knew all along. You are a brilliant coach. And whatever ideal premium buyer you choose to serve, as long as you know that you're a brilliant coach, whatever niche you choose to work in, whoever you've defined as your ideal premium buyer, where you can make the biggest difference, you can make the most money, and you can help the people the most, whatever that niche is. As long as you keep on doing these things, you keep immersing yourself in the culture, you keep on learning the language, you keep on focusing on knowing the people, and most importantly, you keep on serving them with your brilliance. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. It's just a matter of time when this niche will come into your comfort zone. And all of a sudden, you're like that doctor in Japan just a year later, and they're as comfortable in Japan as they were in their home country a year ago. And they didn't become a brilliant doctor all of a sudden in Japan because now everybody knows them as this brilliant doctor. They didn't just become they were a brilliant doctor before they came. They just needed to adapt into this new zone. And now their brilliance is shining in this new space. And that's exactly what is going to happen for you. You won't become a brilliant coach all of a sudden, but your world will see your brilliance, and they will experience your awesomeness. You will be changing people's lives in a powerful way, and you will be making a truckload of money. That's exactly what it's all about. Thank you so very much. I hope you got value out of this episode. I hope that you will do something about this. Go back and listen to last week's episode, episode 3. Listen to this episode again, and you've got to take action, guys. I want to see more coaches stepping up, identifying who their ideal premium buyer is, and going out there and making a difference. And I'd love to hear your stories. I'd love to celebrate with you. If you got value out of this episode, I need you to do a couple things. Number one, I need you to definitely subscribe to this podcast. I need you to actually share this podcast with 3 other coaches who would benefit. Do this for me. Do it for me. And the third thing is I'd love you to actually leave a review of this particular podcast. We want more coaches benefiting from this. This is up there as the number 1 podcast for heart-led coaches who want to change people's lives and who want to get paid very well. I hope this has been good, and I'll see you at the next episode. This is DJ Sobanjo. Keep on being the amazing, phenomenal coach that you are. You have been listening to the Coaching Business Mentor podcast, the podcast focused on giving premium business advice to heart-led coaches, helping them get more clients, help more people, and make more money consistently. If you enjoyed this episode, I'd like to encourage you to do 3 things very quickly. Number 1, subscribe to this podcast. Number 2, I'd like you to leave a review about the podcast and how useful it was for you. And number 3, I would like you to share this podcast episode with 3 coaches who you know would benefit from this. Thank you so very much for listening. If you do want to follow me, you can find me on Instagram. It's DJ Sobanjo, and I look forward to continue to be a part of your success story. Let's keep on changing lives, and let's keep on making our world a better place and getting paid as we do so. This is DJ Sobanjo. See you on the next episode.